All right, folks, we are at 3 minutes after the hour. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may find yourself. And thank you for joining the Live on ServiceNow series. Today, our focus topic is Now Assist for CSM. My name is Andre. I'm the Outbound Product Manager in Customer Workflow. I'm joined by my colleague Bhanu and Abby, who will support with question and answers as well. So let's get rolling. Now, no product manager presentation would be complete without the Yale Safe Harbor statement. As a funny thought experiment, you might try to hop into ChatGPT and get ChatGPT to summarize the Safe Harbor statement as a Shakespeare and see what it comes up with. But this is just a reminder that today's presentation is based on our existing Vancouver release functionality, as well as our September 23 store release for Now Assist for CSM. Any future-looking statements that may be made during this presentation will be explicitly noted, but any purchasing or deployment decisions should be based on existing product functionality. Today's session is part of an ongoing series live on ServiceNow. Our goal here is to connect you with ServiceNow experts and peers that can help you deploy products faster and realize greater time to value with the Now platform. We hope you join us for another webinar or on the 360 Exchange. You can check out the schedule by scanning the QR code or by accessing the link that has been shared via the chat. Here are some brief housekeeping reminders, so please feel free to submit Q&A during the presentation. We have a number of product experts that are eager and happy to help with questions. We will also have Q&A at the end. This presentation will be recorded and shared on the community. And after the event, please let us know how we're doing. Please influence the future format of these webinars by completing a brief survey. So with that said, let's get it rolling. So the speakers today will be myself and Bhanu, once again, Outbound Product Managers for Now Assist for CSM. So earlier in the year, or maybe in the latter part of 2022, generative AI started hitting the airwaves. And it was a fascinating technology that will fundamentally transform the way that we work, both as employees, as customers, whatever persona you look at it from. And today we're going to have a look at how we can put AI to work on the ServiceNow platform. But long before generative AI, we've been focused on AI in general here at ServiceNow. And specifically, what we might want to consider is why does AI matter from a customer service perspective? And it matters because it directly aligns with our prime directive here in customer service management. And that is to improve customer experiences while reducing cost. And a lot of companies believe that it's an or choice, but here at ServiceNow, we're keenly aware that you can do both of these things together. You can improve customer experiences and reduce costs. And we're focused on three main areas in doing so, namely improving the experience of customers and agents, increasing agent productivity, and helping growing the agility of support teams and organizations. So for over half a decade, we have made strategic and intentional investments in AI. This is going all the way back to Kingston. If anyone was around in Kingston, we'd be happy to know about that in the chat. So let us know perhaps the release that you started using the ServiceNow platform on. That would be an interesting data point. And when we started our journey into AI, we started with task intelligence. And task intelligence is largely based on what we call, or generally call, predictive intelligence. And what do we mean when we say predictive intelligence? Well, predictive intelligence is all about identifying and predicting trends in data by making observations about that data. With PI, you can detect things like similarity, clusters of similar cases, anomaly in cases, and other generalized patterns. And specifically, with task intelligence, we are able to predict things like a customer's initial and ongoing sentiment. We're able to influence routing by peering into an email attachment and categorizing a case, for example. We're able to automatically extract data using document intelligence. And we can also detect cases in 20 plus languages to influence routing to make sure that the customer gets to the most appropriate agent, the most a person that understands the language that they speak in short order. And to wrap it all up, we made this very easy with a centralized one-stop shop admin console. This allows admins to deploy AI solutions with clicks, not code. And they can simply light up those AI solutions, and they can move from simple recommendations to full-blown automation as their confidence in the AI capability grows. So that's where the landscape looked like from the perspective of predictive intelligence and traditional task intelligence. So we have a couple of poll questions here. The first poll question is, how familiar are you with task intelligence? Okay, and we'll give it about 5 more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and end the poll. And let's go ahead and share the results. So we can see that there's a vast majority of you are actually not familiar or somewhat familiar with task intelligence. And this is actually not that surprising because it is a feature that is deeply embedded within CSM, and it is a feature that customers tend to kind of overlook. So I think one of the points of this poll is to illustrate to you that there's already a lot of rich AI functionality that exists within the CSM platform that you can leverage as a customer today. And this is nothing to do with generative AI quite yet, but we will definitely bring the generative AI point of view into the conversation. So let's go ahead and ask another poll question. What is your timeline for deploying AI solutions into production? All right, we'll give that poll another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's go ahead and share those results. So this is also interesting, and this is very common. We find that a lot of customers are doing that initial kicking of tires when it comes to AI. They're very interested in the promise that it brings, but they're also a little cautious because they don't want to inject very transformative technology into their workflow in short order. So, there's a lot of customers that do that 3-month, half a year kind of evaluation. And then typically what we do is we see a swell of interest that occurs a little longer term when they start noticing the impact of it on the industry or perhaps it within their peer group. And this is why this live on ServiceNow session is important, is because you can connect with your fellow peer group members to kind of go through this journey together. So let's go ahead and stop sharing that poll. And let's go ahead and move on. So thank you very much for that feedback. And that's some very informative and insightful information there. So that was our story so far, right? The industry was kind of buzzing along, focused on predictive AI. But as you know, in November of 2022, all of this started changing with the arrival of generative AI. Now, whereas predictive AI knew how to identify patterns in data, generative AI added this additional ability to create new patterns from data in three simple steps. First of all, it understood the context and the intent and perhaps even the sentiment of the person making a request. So for example, let's say that you had a customer that was asking about a specific product or encountering a common issue, and perhaps they were rather upset. With generative AI, you have the ability to identify that context and intent of the customer. The second thing that it did, you were able to go through multiple information sources and combine that relevant understanding together. So for example, generative AI can look at knowledge, it can look at work history, perhaps comments. And what it can do is it can use that data to help triangulate the answer that it's going to generate. And then the third step is that it can generate the content in a way that effectively communicates the findings based on step number 2. So what it can do is it can combine that information, it can take that contextual intent and awareness, and then it can generate a response with awareness of tone, using perhaps specific technical jargon, and even with the context of that information in mind. So with these 3 steps, generative AI is really quite a game changer to a lot of the experiences that you may have as a customer, but also that the experience that agents will have as well when they're interacting with the system. So the impact of generative AI was immediately clear to the industry, but the manner of integrating it into an enterprise-grade application was not, right? Generative AI was largely a consumer-grade type of application. And how was it that we were going to integrate this in a responsible manner to enterprise applications? Now, the thing here at ServiceNow is that's kind of what we do for a living, right? We make the world of work for people. We are the platform of platforms in a very siloed platform landscape. So it was very natural for us to take large language models and bring them in to the ServiceNow platform. And we started doing so by creating domain-specific models. We have something called the Now Large Language Model, which is used extensively within Now Assist for CSM, and it supports customer support types of use cases. However, we have made our architecture very open. You do have the ability to integrate public large language models if you would like, and this can include public large language models like OpenAI, Microsoft Azure OpenAI, and Google Cloud offerings in general. So we have a very open architecture, but we also have our own domain-specific large language models to handle customer-specific workflows. I'm going to pause on this slide. I just want to go and refresh my demo environment to make sure that it doesn't time out. So let me just do a screen swipe. And come back. Okay. But generative AI goes well beyond just the technology. With any AI, there is the importance of having an ethical foundation by which you develop solutions and by which you practice business relative to those solutions. So here at ServiceNow, we have a responsibility to earn your trust. And in doing so, we have 4 guiding principles. The first principle is that we are human-centered, which means that we provide clear guidance on how AI is used and exposed within any of our solutions, empowering customers to make a choice of whether they would use that AI recommendation or not. We are committed to diversity and bias. So we're committed to having diverse data sets and continually testing and understanding the impact and controlling bias in those data sets. From a transparency perspective, we have open communication through our product documentation. We focus on the clarifying any limitations that may exist within the product. So we're very transparent in that respect. And finally, we have trust in the sense of we have both internal and external oversight, ensuring customers have confidence in the AI capabilities that we roll out into production. All right. So with that foundation laid, let's talk a little bit specifically about Now Assist for CSM. So Now Assist for CSM is designed from the ground up to help accelerate agent productivity. We're enabling agents to gather faster context when they encounter a customer chat or case, for example. We're enabling them to rapidly generate summaries on cases and interactions. And we're also enabling them to improve operations by collecting consistent data when they're resolving and wrapping up cases. So these are the high-level value propositions for Now Assist for CSM. On September 29th, we released 5 major features related to generative AI, namely AI search, chat and case summarization, a very nifty Now Assist side panel, and we also made administration very easy with the Now Assist admin. So let's quickly have a look at each one of these. The first one on deck is the Now Assist and AI search. And Now Assist and AI search improves the self-service experience by generating answers in portal and VA searches. So rather than customers having to sift through search results, we are now looking at the top related knowledge articles and generating a response for them. And this is going to help drive deflection and also improve the overall self-help customer service experience. Now, if a customer is unable to get help via that self-service mechanism, they may decide to interact with a live agent, and this is where chat summarization enters the picture. With chat summarization, you can generate a summary at 3 different points. When the chat is initially offered from the virtual agent to the agent, you can generate the chat summary. You can do it during the chat with a quick action in an inline manner. And when the chat terminates, you can also generate a summary. This will help improve overall productivity for the agents and decrease wrap-up time so they can move on to other work that may be pending within their support organization. Now, as you know, you don't always have simple one-and-done chats. Support organizations often deal with perhaps longer running cases, multi-touch cases, cases that come in via portal or via email. With case summarization, agents can generate a summary, they can edit that summary, and then what they can quickly do is push that summary to the activity stream. So what the agents can do is they can rapidly gain that contextual awareness of that complicated case and perhaps take escalated action or extend goodwill to a customer as may be required to provide the best service experience. Now, any of those capabilities that we have, chat summarization and case summarization, can also be exposed in a conversational manner in what we call the Now Assist panel. With the Now Assist panel, you can quickly click on a skill, or you can simply type in, summarize a case, generate a resolution note, and the system will generate the associated response. So agents can trigger these skills on demand. They can also ask follow-up questions. For example, they could say, hey, can you make that resolution note shorter? Can you make it more formal or informal? Or can you make it more empathetic as an example? So you can have those kind of more nuanced responses by requesting generative AI to change the tone of the response. This helps improve overall agent productivity and provides more empathetic replies to perhaps sensitive customer issues. And then finally, we wrapped it together with an admin console. This admin console allows you to deploy AI solutions with ease and confidence with clicks, not code. You can configure skills. You can toggle display options on or off for the workspace, for example. And in addition to that, you have the ability as an admin to gain insight into how specific features are being consumed. So you can see how often a specific skill is being executed by agents. How many unique user visits do you have when launching a given skill? You can even see the average completion time of skills over a given time period. So with this, admins can gain insight into the uptake and real-world business impact of generative AI in the customer service organization. So maybe I'll take a breath there. I'll take a yoga breath and see if there was any, I know questions are being answered in the background, but is there any specific pressing questions that we need to draw light to, and I'll do that while I'm refreshing my browser environment. So let's see if there's any questions. If there's not, we will continue and we'll get to the demo. Awesome. So let's hop over to the live demo. So for this demo, we have 3 personas. The first persona is the customer persona. And again, we're trying to improve the customer experience, drive greater self-service deflection rates, essentially just reduce customer effort. From the agent perspective, we are looking to streamline the way that agents engage with customers, give agents greater contextual awareness. And then from the admin perspective, we're making it easy for them to light up generative AI features and to track the real world impact of those features within their support organization. I won't go through these functional flows in detail, but they are here for reference. This will be covered in the demo. But the first functional flow is we're going to go into the portal and we're going to do a search, and we're going to show how we generate a generative AI response. Then we'll also show how that generative AI response gets surfaced within the virtual agent before we transfer to a live agent. In the second vignette, we will take that chat and we will generate a chat summarization when the chat initially gets offered to the agent. We'll generate a summarization during the conversation, as well as when the chat terminates. In our third vignette for a longer running cases, we have case summarization. We will show you how you can generate a case summarization based on the previous work history and work note that may have transpired within the case, and then how you can modify those, give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, and how you can post those work notes, the generated summary work notes rather, to the activity feed of the case record. In addition to that, if you are looking to close the case, you can have the system generate resolution notes and propose a solution. So once again, we have the ability to interrogate the back and forth conversation that may have occurred with the customer or even within internal support teams and generate a proposed solution and surface that and populate that onto the case record form. We'll have a look at the Now Assist panel, which allows agents to make ad hoc and on-demand requests from a Now Assist and execute that against the specific case that they may have in focus or in context. And then finally, we'll have a quick look at the admin console. So these are just some functional flows that you can look at perhaps after this webinar to review the demo. So with that said, let's hop into the live demo. And if life is good, let's see if there is no timeout, and I will verify that you guys are able to see my screen. So now what you should see is you should see a side-by-side browser. On the left-hand side, I have George Warren, who is a customer that's authenticated into a self-service portal. On the right-hand side, I have an agent, John Jason, who is logged into the CSM configurable workspace and who is available to receive work. So over here, the customer, George, goes in and perhaps he's having a problem connecting to the internet, so he types internet issues. And when George does that, we are doing 2 things. We are searching the knowledge base and the knowledge articles that George has access to, and we are kind of collating and generating from those most relevant articles a generative AI response. Now, again, because of our commitment to ethical AI, we stamp this and watermark it with an answer generated by Now Assist. We provide the summary. And the idea here is rather than having to sift through search results, George has now provided a generative AI answer immediately. Now, George can also get that generative AI answer via the virtual agent. So in the virtual agent, he can come in here and he can type in internet issue. And once again, we will take that search query, we will look for relevant knowledge articles, and if life is good, we're going to be able to provide a generative AI response in line within the virtual agent chat here. So in a moment here, you'll see the response come back. Oh, this happened last time. All right. Sometimes the virtual agent flow needs to be at the right spot. Let's try that again. So the virtual agent flow was able to generate the generative AI response based on the internet issue question that we typed in. And once again, we watermark it with the generated by Now Assist. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to say that we want to ask something else. So in this situation, perhaps there is some back and forth dialogue that needs to occur, but what we decide is that we need to speak to a live agent. So when we type in live agent, you'll notice that George is immediately popped over to John, and John can go ahead and accept the chat. So when the chat is accepted and offered to John, we immediately get a chat summary of the previous interaction that occurred. And then the customer may type in some additional information. So the customer may type in some information about, they recently upgraded their router to the latest model, etc. And they can go ahead and shoot that over to John. And now what John has the ability to do is, in an on-demand manner, he can click the / and launch what we call a quick action, and we can do a summarization of the chat. Now, this could be particularly useful if the chat was perhaps long running. In addition to that, let's say that a third-party agent had entered the chat. They may want to generate a summary of the chat in an on-demand manner. You'll notice that the chat summarization is private. So this is specific to John. George cannot see it within the chat transcript. They can continue having a back and forth conversation. At some point in time, the chat will need to be ended. So we'll go ahead and we're going to end the chat when we've solved George's problem. And when I click on end chat, the chat will get terminated, and this will trigger the system to automatically generate a summary. So you'll notice that the short description and the chat summary field are currently unpopulated, but with generative AI, we will now go and quickly populate the short description and chat summary so we can drive a quick wrap up of this chat. So there's the summarization that was generated by generative AI. So that was our first situation with chat summarization. The next thing we want to have a look at, I'm going to slide the screen over to give us a little bit more viewing pleasure. And I'm going to move my Zoom bar out of the way. Sorry about all the extra highlighting here. No, don't like that. Okay. So let's say that George is now not handling a chat. And when you think about chats are things that kind of pop in like popcorn. They're quick one and done type of scenarios. But often in support organizations, you may have more long-running cases. You may have a case that comes in via portal on the Monday, gets updated on the Wednesday, and it's still pending on the Friday. Or you may have a case that ping-pongs back and forth between different support teams. So in this situation, we may want to leverage case summarization. And here's a case, the firmware upgrade on the router. And you'll notice that in the middle of the activity feed, we have a summarize button. And if I click on summarize, this is where generative AI is going to look at the short description, long description, at the work notes, and it's going to go and generate a summary for us in line. And this is the summary that it generated. So it nicely defined for us what the issue is, what the actions taken were, etc. We can give it a thumbs up and a thumbs down. We could also copy this summary to the clipboard. Perhaps we want to paste it to another part of the user interface. But perhaps more importantly, we can share the summary as work notes. So if we click on summarize as work notes, we can see the complete summary. We can modify or add additional notes to this summary. So this is going to get fixed in patch 90210. And when we click on save to work notes, it will pop the edited summary onto the activity stream. So in a few simple clicks and with a few simple edits, the agent can rapidly gain that contextual awareness and rapidly wrap up that long-running case. Now, if this case happens to be an open case that's assigned, there is a UI action button that conditionally appears. It's called Propose Solution. And if I click on the proposed solution button, then I get a modal dialog box. And in this modal dialog box, we will get a generative AI response. So under the resolution notes, this is generated based on the generative AI, or Now Assist for CSM, interrogating the work notes and the case itself to generate this response. And we can say patch upgrade failed to be fixed on 10/20. And we can propose that solution. And when we propose that solution, you'll notice that the case status changes to resolved and the case is updated accordingly. So that's the second little vignette, which is the case summarization. The third thing that we can do here is we can also execute any of these what we call skills in an on-demand and ad hoc manner. So next to the search dialog, you'll notice that we have this little sparkle icon for Now Assist. We can go ahead and click on that. And this will launch Now Assist in this conversational panel. I could pin the panel so it occupies the right-hand side of the screen. And you'll notice that within here, we can launch specific generative AI skills. So we may say something like summarize a record. I could just as easily type summarize the record, but we just made that very easy for you with a clickable button. But we definitely do recognize free-flowing text. So this is the summary that was generated. Once again, I have the ability to like or dislike it, copy it. But perhaps more importantly, I may say something like make it shorter. And what generative AI is smart enough to do is to look at the summary that was generated and to provide me with a more concise summary. I could potentially even say, make it more empathetic, or make it sound like Shakespeare, or whatever the situation may be. So this is our ability to expose generative AI capabilities in an easy conversational panel. And you can launch those as by what we call skills, and agents can do so in an on-demand manner. And you'll notice that it's smart enough to pick up the context of the current record that you're working on when it is performing the associated action. So I am going to end impersonation of John Johnson. And I'm going to go back over to my admin persona. And the last thing that I want to show you here is quickly, what does the admin experience look like? So if you have a Vancouver Patch 2 environment installed, and you were to go to Filter Navigator, and you were to type Now Assist, you will see the Now Assist admin panel. And if you were to click on Home, it would take you to the admin panel. From the admin panel, this is where you can launch different plugins for the different Now Assist capabilities that we have. Now Assist for ITSM, Now Assist for HRDS, Now Assist for CSM. We already have Now Assist for CSM set up, so I'm going to click on this tab and I'm going to go over to Customer. And these are the two skills that we currently have configured for Now Assist for CSM. In the future, you may see other skills. You may see other skills that enhance the virtual agent experience. That's a forward-looking safe harbor statement. You may see other skills that may be related to knowledge generation. Once again, that is a forward statement there. But in this situation, what we're doing is we're going to have a look at the chat assist. So we click on View Details, and we click on Chat Summarization. And we can see how this skill can be turned on with clicks, not code. Over here, we can define the trigger conditions for the chat summarization. So is it triggered when the virtual agent handoff occurs? Is it triggered by a live agent action? Is it triggered when, does it do a short description, a generation, etc. We can also set where the skill will be displayed. Will it be displayed in the agent workspace or even in UI 16? Will it be displayed in the Now panel, in the Now Assist panel, in that conversational panel? And if so, what roles have access to that skill so you can control the security associated with it? So that's a little bit about the point and click manner in which you can light up and turn on these Now Assist for CSM features. The last thing I'll show you here is how we make it easy for admins to see the consumption of Now Assist skills within their environment. So within the admin console here, if we slide down, we can see how the skill is being used over time. We can see the other average number of unique users that are triggering that skill. So with, let's say we have an agent population of 1,000, are 700 of those agents executing and leveraging the Now Assist skill. And if my demo environment had some more rich data, we would also be able to see the number of actions over time, and indirectly we would be able to determine the amount of real dollar savings, right? So if that Now Assist skill is saving 2 or 3 minutes per case, and we have 100 agents times 300 cases, you can quickly see the value of the solution in production. And finally, over here, you have the ability to filter to specific skills and filter to specific date ranges, so you can track the impact over time. This is a very interesting poll question because it's often influenced on what your primary intake channel is, and it's often influenced by whether your support organization tends to have quick one and done cases versus multi-touch cases. So let's go ahead and give this poll 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and share that. We'll go ahead and end the poll. And we can share the results. So with little surprise, you can understand that the AI search and the virtual agent experience is very critical. That is often the entry point for a lot of service organizations. That is a wonderful opportunity to reduce customer effort, to drive deflection in an upfront manner, and also have real benefit in terms of deflecting work away from support agents. So that quick one and done work can be quickly shuttled away. As a little surprise, chat summarization also comes into play. So if you're dealing with less one and done work, then what tends to happen is the complexity of the work when it enters the support organization increases. So then that's where you would see case summarization coming into play, 28%. So thank you very much for that poll. Some very insightful results there. Let's go ahead and stop sharing that poll. I guess I can close it and we can move on just to wrap up here. So just rolling out of the demo, we have some slides here that you can use for reference. These are the feature detail slides, which go into the background of the specific features. There are some nuances that you should be aware of, but these go into the specific details about when does the chat get triggered, when does the summarization get triggered, things of that nature. I won't go through all these slides. I will leave them for your reference. For example, it tells you which fields are used out of the box to generate a summary, which user interfaces a summary may or may not appear on. So it goes through all of the detail there. We'll leave that there for your reference. We also have some additional resources. Please, if you're interested, do download the Now Assist for CSM Store app. There is also a Now Learning course for the introduction of generative AI. So generative AI is a platform capability. It is part of Now Assist for CSM, but there is also available in other areas of the platform. And we have extensive product documentation that goes through the details of Now Assist for CSM. So this slide here, this is about accelerating value and further your goals with these resources. So there's a number of resources that you can tap into, including training and certification, expert services, and ServiceNow Impact. So please do check those out. And with that said, all right, folks, unless there's any other pending questions, I think we can give you 9 minutes back. Thank you very much for joining us today for this Now Assist for CSM session on how we are putting generative AI to work on the Now platform. and check it out in the store app.